Welcome, everybody, to a special episode of The Grid, the Snapseed 2.0 release. My name is RC.
Hey, I'm Scott.
And we have a very special guest.
Very special.
So we have Nils Kokemohr from Google here joining us on this. What's going on, man? How are you?
Yeah, how are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, congratulations.
Congratulations. Yeah, this is a big day.
Oh, yeah, it is. Has been a lot of hard work in there.
Yeah, you guys have been crushing it.
All right, listen, we don't necessarily want to take up too much of your time on this. We do want to talk to you about the release. So here's the deal. Snapseed, long mobile app, right? Everybody uses it.
It was the Apple App of the Year.
Right? Mm-hmm. And now we have 2.0. It's a big thing.
This is a huge update. This is a major update.
Yep. And it's one of those things where we're like, why don't we just dig right in and start playing with it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So tell us, the origin of the update. You're happy with it? You're excited about it?
Yeah, like we reworked a whole bunch of things in the app, and I do think it was worth it. So the good news for everybody who likes Snapseed 1.6.4, I think that's the actual version since many years.
That's a quiz question, by the way. What's the current version of Snapseed?
Good question. So not a lot has changed if you're used to the old Snapseed, but we've added a whole bunch of new things that will make your life a lot easier, that are a little bit more hidden. So the straightforward workflow is still the same, but there's a whole bunch of things you can do now. And should we get started?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look.
So this is the home screen of Snapseed. And as you can see, all the filters are gone, but do not be afraid. All the filters are behind the plus symbol. So if you know Snapseed 1.6, everything is still there, plus some new cool things.
Okay.
Would you want to know what the new...
Yeah, let's...
My favorite new cool thing is there.
Which is?
A very, very awesome tonal contrast.
No, but before we get to
I want to get to my stuff.
All right, fine. Let's talk about it already. Let's swing down there.
There's so many cool things in there, but this is like one of my dream filter.
Okay, so let's begin with tonal contrast. So like the last time you featured us on the show, that was I think with Analog Effects Pro from the Nick collection.
Right.
You ranted about tonal contrast for not being different as Contrast 3? I don't know, what was it anyway?
Yeah, what it was is in Color Effects Pro 3, the tonal contrast was the best tonal contrast of any product in the world. And then came 4. Mm-hmm. And they added all this new stuff to it, but it wasn't as good as the 3 was the magic one. Can I tell you how magic it is?
So
Regina Pagels, that's her secret weapon. She finally said, my secret weapon is I use 3.
Okay, so we made the best possible tonal contrast in Color Effects 3 and the second best possible in Color Effects 4, right?
Right.
So we put the best tonal contrast from Color Effects 3 into Snapseed, and here you go. So as the tonal contrast on desktop, this actually has contrast for midtones, highlights, and shadows, and it's actually kind of the tonal contrast. It's not just standard contrast, it's the tonal contrast from Color Effects. And let me increase all of them to a high level. Now what's also there is the protect shadows and protect highlights. So when I protect the shadows and I protect the highlights, you will see that I can bring back a lot of detail that wasn't there to begin with, because we've added tonal contrast to the highlights, we've added tonal contrast to the shadows, and you can now bring more of them into the visible range by this protect slider.
In a mobile app.
Yeah, in a mobile app. They took the best tonal contrast ever. Can we see a before and after?
Yes, absolutely. So the button at the top right is for compare, and what's also new over the old Snapseed is you can zoom in with 2 fingers and do better comparison.
This is a big picture.
Yeah, it actually comes from an 80 megapixel camera. Like a friend of mine is a crazy photographer. He works also at Google, and he likes to shoot very many pixels. Obviously, there is no app out there that can actually process 80 megapixels today. Snapseed renders a low resolution while you're working on it. So this is what you see right now is the low resolution. When you're saving, it's rendering a much higher resolution. I think up to 20 megapixel standard.
Ooh, that's
that's quite something. That's a lot of resolution when you save out.
All right, so that's your feature.
I just had to get that in there. I mean, there's other stuff in here that's more amazing. I've just been waiting for tonal contrast, just because there's other stuff. Like in the scale of amazing, it's great that it's there. It's great that this amazing thing came back, but it's not the most amazing thing. I have to admit.
Let's go back. Let's go back to the very beginning. So that is one thing that I think is great, right? on the basic editing, there have been some changes that you've made.
Yes.
So let's talk about those.
So let's start with what's new inside the software. Like the first one you'll find is, I think, Tune Image. We all agree that's one of the most important filters.
Right.
The auto enhance now is inside Tune Image. So if I click this magic wand in the bottom right, it would auto enhance. The next thing that you'll see is there's a histogram, which I can turn on or off with a tap.
Okay.
So let me turn it on now. And when I now change the brightness, you will see in real time the picture changing as well as the histogram changing.
Right.
So not revolutionary, we all know this from the desktop, but it's really practical on a phone. Particularly on a phone because you remember, like on a phone, you don't have the wide Photoshop menu bar or the wide arrow around the cursor, anything like that. Like you typically just see the picture, and sometimes it's really hard to tell if the picture is too dark or too bright.
Right.
If you just have your phone in your hand, that's all you see.
Now, for those who are not familiar with Snapseed, you're literally controlling all of those gestures by just swiping up and down.
Yes. So that's a very good reminder. So swiping up and down gives you different parameters, and swiping left and right allows you to change that parameter. So now I'm changing brightness. Now I'm switching from brightness to ambience, and I can now change ambience.
And as you drag, you can see at the top of the screen, you're seeing the values as he drags.
Right.
So you can see how far. You don't have to feel like, have I gone far enough?
Right,
You can actually see a readout.
Okay.
And this is kind of the basic flow. Like tonal tune image gives you, what is it, like seven basic controls, from saturation to contrast to ambience and so forth. There's two sliders that we've really ramped up over the old version, and that is shadows and highlights. So we used to have shadows in the old version. This new shadows is better. And there's one pretty cool trick in there, and that is if you move shadows to the right, you will see that there's a pretty cool detail lightening or fill light algorithm in there. Mm-hmm. However, if you move the shadows control to the left, you'll actually have a black point adjustment. So you can do selective darkening of the black areas in the picture. So if your camera doesn't have sufficient contrast, that's a good way to fix for it. You would definitely need it, like if the day is a little bit foggy or if your lens is a little bit dirty.
Yep.
You can do the same thing with the white. So you can actually expand the tonal range by setting your white and black point.
Exactly. So you can actually move the whites to the left, and you will see that it's bringing back details in the clouds.
Right.
Or I can, if the picture wouldn't be bright enough, which this one is, I can just move the whites to the right or the highlights to the right, and that would even have better contrast range.
That looks great.
Okay, let's cancel all of that.
All right. What else you got?
So much more. Like, let me show you a really lame filter that is in there since Snapseed 1.0, which is rotate, which allows you to rotate the picture. That's really not anything new. And as you can see, of course, when you try to fit a 45 or like a rotated rectangle into the original, you have to make it a lot smaller. There is no way around that.
Right.
Unless you use the new transform filter, which gives you perspective, vertical, perspective, horizontal, and rotation. So perspective does pretty much
lens
exactly
correction.
Exactly. So.
Oh, you missed it. Oh, something happened.
Yeah.
I
was jumping over it. So the downside of the transform filter is it can only rotate up to 5 degrees.
Okay.
However, the upside is if I release my finger now, you will see that it's filling in the corners.
Did you see that?
So the software has a BS algorithm. It's kind of making up BS detail in the corners that's not really there.
Okay. It's intelligent filling.
When you say BS, is that behind
behind the scenes?
Absolutely, behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. Yes, exactly. So long story short, it will not give you authentic content of the picture. Like if you want to extend the license plate from a car, you know you're not going to find the right letters. However, it doesn't force you to throw away a lot of portions of the picture. So it allows you to rotate without making the picture a lot smaller. What else is new? There's a healing tool in there, which is new, which I can't show off because there's no dirt, no cans of Coke, no nothing.
Ooh, I've got something.
You have a picture?
I've got something here.
Some.
Let's jump over here. All right. So before we even go anywhere, hold up a second. I gotta try this myself here. So there's your transform, right? I'm a little wobbly. I was taking that right in Dubai. So you're saying I could just
That's Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi. Okay. I can straighten that a little straight, and done.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go to okay, so I just did that one. No. Okay, well, I'll take it. Let me go over here. I'm gonna do a little bit of a rotation change. Looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, all right. I like it. But here, I did have the healing thing. Let me grab it right now. Go to my favorites. There we go. Nice shot.
Oh yeah, bird.
Little bird.
Random bird.
Not bad, but I don't want the bird, right? So I'm gonna click on that, and from here, spot repair. Now, here's something that I thought was really cool about it. When you're using this, right, notice that as you pinch in to get in smaller, the brush actually gets bigger or smaller.
Yeah.
Right? As you're pinching in and out. So I'm zooming in, brush gets smaller.
Yeah, it's responsive to your size.
Yeah, I was like, zoom out, and it gets bigger. I'm gonna come over here, go to the preview, go to the bird, and tap the bird. Gone.
Bye, bird. Bye,
Bye, bird.
birdie.
Yeah.
See you later, bird.
Come on, dude. I had a good one there. Bye, birdie. Come on.
So anyway, so I thought that was cool.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, thanks.
transforming, spot removal.
Let me
Okay.
explain one thing quickly about zooming. We had so many discussions about how to zoom with our team. Because there's one thing we really wanted to allow customers to do, and that is, let me go in this filter, let's say, into details, and apply structure. Now, in this view, I can't really fully tell if that's the right amount of structure. So I want to zoom in and keep tweaking the structure, and then zoom out again. However, that means that when you zoom in, and swiping with your index finger is reserved for parameter changes. And we had a long debate, when you zoom in and you move your index finger over the picture, should that pan or should that change the parameter? But zooming in, changing the parameter, and zooming out again is so vital that we said, you know what, we want to reserve that gesture for that. So long story short, when you're zooming in, you can change the view of the picture by moving on the Navigator.
Navigator, yeah.
Or zoom with 2 fingers, like you can pinch and zoom the same time with 2 fingers. And you can fine tune while you're zoomed in with your finger with the normal parameter selector. So that's a little tricky to understand, but it's super practical if you want to work really, really fast.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I saw, like, as soon as I saw the Navigator section, my finger immediately went over to it, and I was just like,
Yeah.
okay, I could take this.
Yeah.
This would be pretty cool.
That's good enough. Cool.
So that worked out well. So what else you got in there?
Should we talk about
Dun, dun,
stacks?
dun. Yeah, this is the thing. This is the thing.
All right,
This is
okay.
what we're
Well,
building up to.
Before we do anything else, why don't we do this? Let's take a quick break. When we come back, you've seen some basic stuff, and you're familiar with the app. Now you're going to see some things
This
that
is
are just
the
going to
thing.
blow the
Now-
roof off of it. So we'll see you guys in a couple minutes.
Don't go away.
Get the world's best photography, lighting, and Photoshop training at Photoshop World. It's 3 non-stop days of real-world training where you can get personal attention and unlimited access to the world's top instructors in Photoshop and photography. When you attend, you'll have chances to experience hands-on live shoots and workshops. This is the must-attend conference for photographers and Photoshop users. Sign up today. Photoshop World, the world's best Photoshop and photography conference.
Welcome back, everybody. RC here with Mr. Scott Kelby.
Hey.
And Nils Kokemohr from Google.
Hey.
Now, we've been talking about Snapseed 2.0, and we've given you kind of a basic preview of some of the stuff that's there, but there's more. There's a lot more.
This is the thing that you'll be talking about. This is the thing. Can I say before you show this, because you're going to show it right now, is I know a lot of pros use Snapseed.
Right.
I know everybody use Snapseed. How many downloads from Snapseed, the original?
I don't know offhand, but like plenty.
Like tens of millions. It was like
Yeah.
a crazy
Yeah, yeah,
number.
yeah.
I saw it years ago. I don't remember what the number was, but it was an insane amount of number. But the stuff that you've added in this one, I think the pros are going to go, oh yeah.
so.
I mean, everybody can use it, but I think the way you've designed the UI is really brilliant. You didn't really mess with the basic structure. People that have always used it will still be able to use it. But if you know where to look under the hood, there's crazy stuff. Let's see some crazy stuff.
Okay, let's see some crazy stuff. So here's Mr. Penguin. Let me add some details. So I increase the structure, and you will see, I hope you can see it on the screen,
Yep.
that the picture is changing. Now, so far so easy. Let me tap on you see at the top right, there is a little rectangle, a little square that says now 1. It used to say 0. That
Yep.
indicates one thingy has been applied to the picture. When I tap on that, you will see the stack. The stack is really simple right now. It's
This is
original
where- this
and
is where it
detailed.
gets good.
Yeah.
So I can flip back and forth and compare what I've done. So the stack is one really easy way to compare what you've done, even if you apply more, like 2, 10, 15, whatever. When I tap again on the whole thing, there's 3 buttons. Delete, which I'm not going to show because it's boring. It just deletes the filter. Very practical, but very boring. The mystery button, which is the second one.
The mystery.
And the re-edit. So I can actually click on this one and re-edit structure. So I can say this was a little bit on the strong side, so I'm going to do a little bit less, whatever. Click OK, and it's going to re-render this filter. Now, the middle button gives me masking capabilities. We call it the stack brush. So what you see now, when I entered this thing, the entire effect has been wiped out. And when I now swipe my finger over the picture, I'm able to brush in selectively details where I want to. And the cool thing is that works with any filter, so you can do some pretty crazy things there. So the left button toggles the mask, so I can toggle it on, like kind of inverts the whole thing. So now I have everything in the sky and everything now in the foreground again. The eye shows me what mask
there's
I've
the
been
mask.
using. And I can actually kind of start to work a little bit more on the fine side. Let me erase that. I can zoom in, set the detail level to 100. So you will see the filter name at the bottom center. It says now details 100%. That means I'm now painting in 100% of details. And if it was a frame, it would say 100% frame and so forth.
Sure.
So I'll be a little bit faster here. So I'll just use a large brush. And here we go. So now I can compare back and forth again. Now I've applied details only to the foreground.
Which is, I think, it's a very clever way to be able to get into it, where it's like you see the effect, you can edit the effect, you can mask the effect, and it's all sitting inside of one spot.
Yeah.
Now, here's something that I thought was kind of cool on the app, right? So I'm going to take that adjustment and I'm going to raise it just a little bit more. Okay. So let's say, for example, I'm working on a picture, right? And so I've done already that cloning adjustment. I'm going to go inside of here and I'm going to do a little bit of tuning. Right, so I'll take my ambience, I'm going to open it up a little bit. I'm going to grab something else here, and I'm going to say I'm going to do some tonal contrast. I'm going to go into low tones. That looks pretty good. Then I'm going to go inside of here, and I'm going to, I don't know, maybe add some structure to it, right? And I've done a bunch of stuff to it. Now, inside of here, the entire time, it's been saving that. So now I've got 4 items that are there.
Look, 4 things in the stack.
Right. Now, what if I wanted to do something to the picture at an earlier point?
Like back when you tuned the image.
Right? So, or right up in this one spot right here, right? So inside of here, or actually here, after the spot removal, right? I can go inside of here and add a crop. Let's say, for example, I crop it just a tiny, tiny bit. It added the spot right there, and it kept all of the other ones.
Yep.
So it's like now I can just go, oh, I added a step right in the middle of it. Go back over to the top, and it applies everything else after it. And that part I thought was kind of neat because at any point in time now, you can just go back into that history. Not only can you adjust it, not only you can mask it.
It's the fact that it updates the stuff after it.
That I thought was pretty cool.
Right. That I think is pretty revolutionary.
So should we run through like one longer example?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Going
absolutely.
crazy. So we've now applied structure to the foreground of Mr. Penguin. Let's do one more thing. Let's use the brush to add some exposure to the penguin. So by the way, there's 4 brushes in the brush tool that I can select with this tool. So there's dodge and burn, exposure, temperature, and saturation. They're all pretty straightforward. My favorite brush is the exposure, which is not as straightforward. You have to understand what that brush does is it paints directly relative exposure into the picture. So if you say exposure plus 0.7, it directly paints plus 7 at that location in the picture. And if you keep painting on the same location, it will keep painting 0.7 exposure on there.
Right.
And if you then go to 0.0 exposure, it undoes everything. If you keep painting 0.3 exposure over 0.7, it will darken. So it does exactly what you would do with the exposure control on the camera, selectively with the finger. So it's a pretty practical tool. You see I've painted a little bit too much on the wings, so I can simply put the exposure to 0, or in this case it says eraser, and take it out here, or I could just zoom into the picture a little bit more. Another neat thing about the brush is that when I make the brush really large by zooming out, so you can see like when I zoom out really a lot, it gives me a very large brush. And when I now make one single brush stroke across the top of the picture, let me zoom out even more.
You get like a neutral density effect.
Exactly. So like let me compare. So one before and after, and one brush stroke wide. But just by pinching out, you can make a huge brush, which is super helpful if you want to have like a gradient or something really fluffy. Let's apply more filters. Vintage. That's a little bit much, so let's apply just a little bit of a toning color effect to the whole thing, and a bit of a vignette to add some optical depth to the whole thing. Some HDRscape, which is a filter I personally love a lot. I know that it has a tendency to be too much sometimes. The good thing now is you can selectively apply HDRscape to where you want it in the picture. You can say, I adjust it so the foreground looks okay, the sky may be completely kaput, and you just then paint it in the foreground. You don't worry about the sky, and then you can do a different adjustment for the sky later. So it's pretty amazing. Let's say this is what I want for the sky. So I go into the stack, and you see like all the things are now in the stack. Let me apply HDRscape only on the top of the picture, and as you see, this is already masked. So if I turn the mask off, I will be able to see the effect. This would flip the whole effect. And here we go. Next thing I want to do is the lens blur, which applies a pretty cool bokeh effect to the picture. So as you know, like the bokeh is a very different type of blurriness than the straightforward Gaussian blur.
Right.
And if you look at the picture here, let me exaggerate the whole thing a little bit more. You will see that it does have this lens blur effect. And that's the thing I really like to use on a picture when I want to give a little bit more focus to the center. So let me increase the vignette. And let's say this is what I want to do. Now, as you can see, I've blurred a little bit part of the penguin, so I can go into the stacks again. And now it has removed the entire blur effect, the entire bokeh effect, and I just use the invert button to turn it on again. And zoom onto the wing and set the lens blur to 0, which you can see at the bottom of the picture, of the screen. And just one single brush stroke, and here we are. So the penguin is sharp again, although the background behind the penguin is blurry. So what else? We showed the healing tool, right?
Noise. Grained.
Grain, yes, okay. So let me add a frame first. Here we go. And apply grainy film. So if you know color effects, you will probably see that or particularly silver effects, we put a lot of energy into making a really realistic grain engine. Like converting a pixel brightness into grain is very different from just superimposing a grain layer over it. Like if you've ever tried to overlay a scanned film with grain over a normal picture, you will realize that that doesn't really look like actual natural grain. So we put a lot of time in that. It's the original grain effect that we had in silver effects. So that's the grainy film. You can adjust the grain size, and this is maybe a little bit on the strong side. You can choose different styles. Let's go with this one. And here we go. So that's now 7 things I've applied to the picture. And here comes the cool part. I can very quickly go back in time and look at what I've done where. So let's say you're confused about like something went wrong with the one rock. The rock is too dark and you don't know why. Is it like a combination of 3 filters that made the rock too dark? Is it one filter? Did you make an accidental brush stroke? You don't know. So you can very quickly go through that, which is pretty amazing considering this is just a telephone and it's processing a pretty large picture and you don't have to wait for anything. You can in real time see like what's happening on the picture. So now let's do what you showed like 5 minutes ago, that is kind of inserting a filter. Let's say I'm unhappy with the horizon. Okay, there is no horizon in the picture, so bad example, shame on me. But let's go back to original and use the transform filter to rotate the whole thing by a few degrees. Let's say this, and as you see, it again fills in the corners. I click OK, go back into the stack, And as you can see, still all the filters are still there. So I can now tap on the top one, grainy film, just turn on everything else I had. And
That's cool. Dude, that's cool. That's really something.
And here's the reason why it's taken us so long to do this. Every filter is compatible with that system. That means, as an example, when you compare the original transform, you'll see the picture has been rotated. If I now turn on the selective details and the selective brush, you will see that the brush still selects the penguin, even if I do kind of fancy transforms. So
that's what makes this so brilliant. Well, I guess you knew that. I guess you knew that. Okay. You knew that. Sorry.
So,
no, but that's nothing else does that, right? I mean, it's like you're the fact that you're turning the picture and all the things go, oh, it turned to the left. Let's all turn too. Mm-hmm. That's pretty big.
Well, except the ones that shouldn't turn. As an example, the frames obviously did not turn because you don't want to rotate the frame, right? That's because the frame was applied afterwards.
It's even smarter than I thought.
As well as grainy film, so you don't ever want to apply a transformation to grain because it's going to ruin your grain. You don't want to do that. Like if you have a tilt shift lens, you will tilt shift the object, but not the grain on the film, obviously. So long story short, you can modify the transform anytime, anywhere in the stack. I can actually now go back and delete it and turn grainy film on again. So I've undone my transform now, as an example.
Now, is there a way for me to save this so I could apply it to another photo?
Yes, there is. So
that's a setup, by the way. That's what we call in the business a setup. Is there a way that you could?
There is?
What?
Okay, so let's finish up with the penguin. That's before and after. So like as you can see, a whole bunch of things done to the penguin.
Yeah. Mr. Penguin.
Mr. Penguin. Let me find a good picture. How about this one? Or RC, do you have a copy and paste effect?
I had a copy and paste effect here that I was doing. All right, so now just go ahead and open one, right? So I'm gonna go here to my device, and if in my favorites, I have one that's already been done. So when you save it, it opens up the picture, shows all of the effects. So you have a copy stack of 7 there, right? You click on the 7, it shows you all of the stack sets there. Now you click on the 3 buttons in the right corner, you have copy, replace, insert, and cancel. Click on copy, close. Now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna open up another file. So I'm gonna go back inside my favorites. I'm gonna grab a second picture. And then from there, click on the stack, click on the same 3 dots, insert. Boom. All of them have been done now.
Ah, look at that.
So it takes the entire effect, the entire stack of the effects that it has from one image,
Remembers them,
and applies them to the second one. That part I thought was really cool. I was really excited about that because I'm like, I could see this being an app where people really spend time playing and working those pictures. And you want to have a mechanism to be able to go, I got this exactly the way I want. I got to look. I know exactly what I want to be able to do. It's got glamour glow.
Yeah, it's got glamour glow.
I'm like,
that's RC's go-to for HDR.
That's my secret
finishing.
weapon.
That's his secret weapon. It's in his book. All right. So you know what you've done though? You've taken a program that I think a lot of people would say was one of the best programs ever made. Apple named it their app of the year. Think of how many apps that Apple gets submitted, right? It became their app of the year. That year, Apple said, this is it. This is the coolest app. You've taken one of the best apps in the world and you've taken it to the next level. So, hey, before we go, I got a bunch of questions that I want to ask. In fact, I've written them down if you don't mind. First off, is for what devices is this available for? Is it just iPhone or is it on Android?
Pretty much anything that's not desktop. It's Android, iPhone, and all kinds of tablets.
Tablets, so you can use it on iPad or Android tablet?
So I like to use it myself on the tablet, on the sofa at home, and on the travel I have the 6 Plus. Actually, that's not true. I have the 6 Plus for testing it when at work, and I'm privately using the Note 4, which is even more awesome because it has this pen in there. That's really for retouching, but it pretty much works on any device. I'd say a larger phone is really ideal if you're serious about photography and use it on the travel.
Awesome. How much does it cost?
We doubled the price over Snapseed 1.0. It's 0.
Free. It's free. Free. Greatest app, one of the greatest apps in the history of apps. Guess what? It's free. All right. This is just more of a procedural thing, but what's the difference between structure, which has its own look, and tonal contrast?
So technically, it's both a tone mappers, and tone mappers means like you redistribute the brightness and the details in the picture. And technically speaking, structure and tonal contrast are based on the same basic algorithm. They tweak differently.
Yeah, they do look different.
They do look different. That's one thing. So it's a little bit of a matter of personal taste, as well as you have a lot more control in tonal contrast. So it's 5 sliders dedicated only to that thing.
Right,
while in
you can do
structure,
that.
you
Just
have
the highlights, just the shadows, things
Exactly.
like that. All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Your accent, I noticed an accent. You're from
Yes.
Texas?
Yes, I'm from Texas.
All right, great. Next, how much of the technology? Didn't see that one coming, did you? All right, how much of the technology from like the Nick desktop stuff, which is so famous and just so everybody uses it. I mean, I use it; it's awesome. I actually made it from the desktop version. Now, because you mentioned tonal contrast was like like my favorite tonal contrast ever is there.
Yeah.
How much?
So most of the things are now based on like what we have from Nick on the desktop, like particularly most of the new things. We can't just take the code and move it over because then it's the wrong code. It would be also way too slow. So there has been a lot of optimization. But I'm really happy to see things like the bokeh or the lens blur filter, as well as the HDRscape and stuff that's now running a lot faster, have taken quite some effort. And kudos to the team in Lübeck that has worked really hard on that.
Now that's Lubbock, Texas?
Lübeck in Texas.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said Lubbock. That's in Texas.
Okay.
So this is in Germany, Lübeck,
Germany,
Germany?
northern Germany, yeah, exactly.
That's where the
all the hard
engineering
work
team,
is being done.
We got to buy those guys a pizza.
Yeah, we need to buy them a
Absolutely,
pizza because they just love pizza.
So in a nutshell, like it's the bokeh, I think HDRscape is coming. It's not based.
You
on
mentioned the noise, like was from Silver Effects.
the
like
grain. The grains from Silver Effects,
right.
exactly.
And the grain, the grains are awesome. That's another one I use, Silver Effects.
Yeah, so like
Pro.
it's hard to show like this or like in the show, but if you particularly combine the bokeh, like the lens blur with grain, you will find that the details look extremely realistic. So let me try to find one picture here. So this is a picture I have already edited in Snapseed. If you look at the details on how this mast in Venice is blurring out, it's just a combination of the noir filter and the bokeh, and it looks very realistic. I mean, I would mistake this for a real film picture, probably. Yeah.
Very beautifully done.
Okay, thanks.
Now, I'm going to ask you a tough question.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to be smart when I ask this. I'm not trying to be a smart aleck or anything, but do you expect us at this stage with this to be able to do like serious photo editing in an app? Would we think, okay, this is now for serious photo editing?
So I personally do a lot of my edits now with this version. So when I got started, which was 2 years after you got started, my first, no, actually, I think in 1990, like my first monitor that I ever worked on was a Atari ST color monitor, which had 320 pixels times 200 pixels. And I did some imaging on that one, like terrible one. Anyway, then, look back 5 years, like we had like 1900 something pixels times so much. Now this phone has, I think, 2600, and my Samsung Note 4 has like 2800 OLED display with octa-core processor. So why on earth would you not be able to do fantastic image processing on that device? I think the real bottleneck is not the display, it's not the processor. If you do the algorithms right, the real bottleneck is like how much interface you have. You only have an index finger, and you only have so and so many buttons you can put on there. And that's what we're trying to address with Snapseed. Allow you to do a lot of things on a small display, but it shouldn't compromise the quality. If you look at the incredible resolution we have today on those devices, why would you not do it?
Yeah. Well, I just know that that's the typical thing that people ask. Well, can I really use this for real image editing, or are we just dismissing it as a toy? But I think what you've seen today is, number one is, what I liked about having you on here is sometimes it's nice to really hear the thought process. Why did we do this a certain way? Why did we argue about this? Just hearing that you guys sit around and argue about it, or that you're worried about the pattern and when the noise is applied, so that it looks realistic, and why it isn't applied here, why you don't rotate certain things, just like your tilt.
The tilt shift.
That thing, that lens. I think hearing the insight behind some of these, because I think the process of developing software is just fascinating. I think I don't clearly have that kind of mind. I have the other side of the mind, which is, hey RC, what's up, dude? But I think it's really, I always find it fascinating to look in. Well, number one, it makes us happy. It makes us happy to see the level that these things are considered at. This stuff is important to us. And if it's important to you, then we're like, okay, we're in good hands. They're looking out for the kind of stuff that matters. And I think that'll mean a lot to the folks watching. You know what else I like about this is I really feel like that this is an app for us. And I know that everybody will use it, but you know what? This is an app where I think professionals can go, I have an app for me.
Since you speak about professionals, like this is a really high resolution that a Google colleague of ours shot in Scotland, I think like 2 weeks ago, and it's a slightly different edited than what I did like 10 minutes ago. But if you zoom in, and when you zoom here now, I'm in the Apple Gallery. This is kind of slightly different edited than what I've shown you like 10 minutes ago, but it's still processed in Snapseed. When you zoom in here, the detail quality really is there. So this is like a 5% section of the picture, and when you zoom out, it's like it's all in that quality. So this was original. This is one way to edit it. This is another way to edit it. So I think it's if you look at the detail, it's
professional
really,
editing.
Yeah.
It's professional editing. I think it's great.
Well, you
And
knew
it's
it was going to happen one day, didn't we? We knew it was coming. We knew it was going to happen.
I'm just glad that it happened with you guys.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, congratulations.
I'm happy to be here.
Congratulations to you, the team in Germany, everybody at Google.
Yeah, they worked really hard.
You know, because having the forethought to do this, the engineering skill to take desktop stuff, re-engineer it so it works on the phone, not just in user interface but in speed. Congratulations.
Okay, thanks.
You have to be very, very excited today.
We're very happy we made it here. Yeah.
Where can people find it? Where can they go and download these?
Today it's on the App Store on Apple. It's as well on the Play Store from Google. It will take throughout the day to be live everywhere worldwide on the Google Store, on the Play Store. So if you don't see it right away, check in a bunch of hours. But today is the release date.
All right. Well, congratulations.
We'll actually have a class.
Yeah, so we have a full-length class. If you really want, today we were able to kind of demo, show a little bit of it, but if you want to learn the entire class from beginning to end, today we're releasing our first full-length class on Snapseed.
Right. You can go to kelby1.com/Snapseed, and you can see all of the information.
Taught by Mr. RC Concepcion himself.
So yeah,
So,
I'm very excited, man. I'm very excited about playing with the app, and I just want to be able to share with you guys what's got me going with it. It's going to be a good thing.
So go download it and go watch RC's class.
So anyway, so thanks so much for stopping by, Nils. Thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, well, we'll see more of you guys. We'll see more of you very, very soon. We've got some tips. We've got a bunch of stuff coming your way. But anyway, thank you so much, Scott.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
I'll
Thank
see you
you.
guys soon.
Cheers.